That evening, when my car broke down on the empty roadside, a stranger appeared out of nowhere to help me. I didn't know her name, her story, or why she cared, until the next morning when I walked into my daughter's office and saw that same woman standing in tears while my daughter was firing her. What I did next changed all our lives. I've always believed that life has a strange way of placing the right people in our path at the exact moment we need them. But that belief was truly tested on a cold, windy Thursday evening when my entire world shifted because of a stranger. A stranger I would later realize wasn't a stranger at all, not to my destiny and not to the choices I would soon be forced to make. The sky was already turning a faint shade of purple when my car sputtered and gave its last breath. I was driving back from visiting an old friend, a rare break from my busy routine as a semi-retired builder. I'd taken a long, quiet route, one of those roads where the streetlights stand too far apart and the only company you have is the echo of your own thoughts. The engine coughed once, twice, and then died completely. I guided the car to the shoulder and tried not to curse loud enough for the universe to hear me. "Great," I muttered, "just great." My phone was at 6%. My daughter had told me, "Do you please charge your phone before long drives?" at least 100 times, and I kept telling her I would. But old habits win against advice every time. I stepped out of the car, looking around for any sign of life. Nothing. No cars, no pedestrians. Just the quiet hum of the wind brushing past the trees on the side of the road. Of all days, I sighed, rubbing my forehead. My knee was already aching from sitting too long, and the cold wasn't helping. I opened the hood even though I knew absolutely nothing about engines. I just did it because that's what people do when their cars stop working. They stare at an engine as if their disappointment will magically fix it. My phone blinked. 4%. I was getting ready to call a tow truck when suddenly I heard footsteps behind me. Light footsteps, quick but cautious. "Excuse me," a soft female voice called out. I turned around and saw her, a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s, bundled in a worn-out gray jacket, her curly dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She had a backpack slung over her shoulder and a tired but gentle expression on her face. "Do you need help?" she asked, slightly out of breath. It took me a moment to respond. I wasn't expecting anyone to appear on that empty road, let alone someone walking alone in the cold dusk. Yeah, seems like my car decided it's had enough," I said with a half-hearted chuckle. She smiled politely, stepping closer. "Mind if I take a look? You know anything about cars?" I asked. "A little," she replied, already peering under the hood. She wasn't bluffing. Her hands moved with familiarity, checking connections, feeling hoses, frowning thoughtfully. "Looks like your battery's completely drained," she said. "Figures," I muttered, and just when I needed it most. She glanced at me, then at the road behind her. "I work at the community center a few miles down. I was just walking home. I don't have a car, but I have jumper cables in my locker. If you don't mind waiting, I can go get them." My immediate reaction was to refuse. I didn't want to ruin her evening. No, you don't need to do that. You've probably had a long day." She smiled again, but this time it wasn't as bright. It was a smile worn down by exhaustion, one I recognized well. I'd worn the same smile many times in my life. "It's okay," she said softly. "I don't mind helping. We don't leave each other stranded in this world, right?" I looked at her for a long second. There was something sincere about her, something painfully genuine. "Thank you," I finally said. "I'll run," she replied, already stepping back. "Shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. If anyone asks, my name is Maya." "Maya," I repeated. "I'm Daniel, and thank you again." She waved and jogged off down the dim road. I couldn't help but watch her until she disappeared around the bend. 20 minutes stretched to 30. 30 stretched to 40. I began to worry, not about my car, but about her. A girl walking alone in the dark wasn't something I could take lightly. I was about to try calling for help when I saw a small silhouette approaching again. It was her, breathing heavily, clutching a bright orange jumper cable in one hand. "Sorry," she panted. "My supervisor kept asking questions." "No need to apologize," I said, genuinely relieved she was safe. She set down her backpack and began attaching the cables. A guy at the center let me use his car battery. He wasn't happy about it, but, well, he'll survive. I laughed. She grinned. Within minutes, my engine roared back to life. The relief I felt was almost ridiculous. "You're a lifesaver," I said. She shook her head. "Just someone who understands what it's like to be stuck." I gestured toward the road. "Can I drive you home? It's the least I can do." Her smile faded slightly. "I'd love to say yes, but I'm supposed to be home by now. My landlord gets jumpy if I'm late." Something about the way she said that bothered me. Her words were careful, too careful. "I'd least let me walk you halfway," I offered. "This area isn't safe at night." She hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Okay, but just halfway." We walked side by side along the quiet road. She told me she worked 2 jobs, one at a community center, the other at a cleaning service. She walked everywhere because she couldn't afford transportation. She lived in a small, shared building where tenants weren't exactly treated with respect. "It's temporary," she said. "I'm saving to go back to school." When we reached the old corner shop, she stopped. "This is far enough," she said. "You sure?" "Yeah, my place is just 2 streets away." She gave me one last smile, warm, shy, grateful. "Thank you for waiting for me," she said. "Most people would have left." "Most people don't know what kindness looks like anymore," I replied. She looked as if she wanted to say something else, but instead, she simply waved and walked away into the night. I stood there watching her until she turned a corner and vanished. I didn't know then. I didn't know that this young woman, this stranger who had helped me without expecting anything in return, would cross my path again just hours later in a moment that would break something inside me. I reached home late that night. My daughter, Emma, had already called twice. She was a manager, no, the manager, at a high-end cleaning service agency. She was tough, disciplined, and serious about her work. Too serious, if I was being honest. I tried to talk to her about softening her edges, about remembering people have lives and limits, but she believed in fairness through rules, not empathy. Her job exhausted her, but she never showed it. She had built her own world, made her own money, and created a reputation as someone who didn't tolerate mistakes, not even small ones. When I finally walked into the house, the lights were dim and a note sat on the dining table. "Dad, important meeting tomorrow morning. Want you there, 9 a.m. Please don't be late. Emma." I groaned. Emma didn't believe in saying things twice. If she wanted me at 9, she meant exactly 9. But I didn't mind going. She had been working on a promotion pitch, and she liked when I showed support. I prepared myself for a long night, but smiled when I remembered the stranger's kindness. Maya. Her name echoed in my thoughts the whole night. Her tired smile, her gentle voice, her willingness to help without hesitation. I don't know why she had stayed with me in my mind. Maybe because genuine kindness is rare enough that when you encounter it, it clings to you a bit longer. Morning came quickly. I dressed, grabbed a coffee, and headed to Emma's office. Her company, a sleek building with tall glass windows and busy employees running around, felt as cold as the morning air. The receptionist smiled at me, used to seeing me there. Emma had built her name here brick by brick, just like I had built my houses. But something felt off the moment I stepped into the hallway. I heard a voice, a trembling voice, a frightened voice. "Please, ma'am, I didn't mean to be late. I'm really sorry. I had to. Another voice cut her off sharply, cold, firm, unforgiving. "How many times do I have to tell you that excuses don't matter here? Being late affects the entire schedule. You signed the policy yourself." The sobbing continued. "Please, it won't happen again. I promise. I just really need this job." "Everyone needs their job," the cold voice replied. "You're dismissed. Collect your things." I felt a knot in my chest. I recognized that cold voice. My daughter. And when I turned the corner, I froze. Emma was standing behind her desk, arms crossed, jaw clenched, and in front of her, trembling, tears streaming down her face, was Maya, the same woman who had helped me last night, the same woman who had walked alone in the cold to bring me jumper cables, the same woman who had chosen compassion without knowing anything about me. And my daughter was firing her. I saw Maya's eyes widen when she noticed me. She quickly looked down, wiping her tears, ashamed to be seen like this. Emma finally noticed me standing in the doorway. "Dad," she said, surprised, "what are you doing here early?" But I didn't answer her. I stepped toward Maya slowly. My voice cracked when I spoke. What happened? Why are you firing her? I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear it. I needed to hear the reason my daughter was crushing the same person who had lifted me up just the night before. Emma didn't know the connection between us. Not yet, but she was about to be. And what I did next, what I said next, what I chose next, would change everything. Everything. For a full 5 seconds, no one spoke. No one moved. Even the air seemed to freeze between us, filled with an awkward, almost painful tension. I looked from Maya's trembling hands to Emma's stern expression, and something inside me twisted in a way I hadn't felt in years, like a crack forming in the walls I thought existed only around others, not my own family. "Dad," Emma said again, more slowly this time, "you're early. My meeting isn't until—" "What happened?" I repeated, softer but sharper, my eyes fixed on Maya. She tried to speak, her lips trembling. I was late. I'm really sorry. It won't happen again, sir. I promise." Her voice broke on the last word. Emma cut in before I could reply. "Dad, please don't get involved. This is company protocol. She was scheduled for the early morning shift. She arrived 27 minutes late. That throws off the whole day." I turned to my daughter. 27 minutes? That's all? She crossed her arms tightly. "Rules are rules. Everyone here signs a punctuality agreement. If I let one person slip, I have to let them all slip. That's not how leadership works." "Leadership?" I repeated quietly, almost tasting the word. "Is that what you call this?" Her eyebrows knit together immediately. "Yes, leadership requires consistency. You taught me that." I shook my head. "No, I taught you responsibility, compassion, understanding, not this." She took a step back as if I'd physically struck her. "What's gotten into you? You don't even know her." I exhaled slowly. The truth was, she was right. I didn't know Maya deeply. But last night, in the silence of that cold road, I had felt her sincerity. I had seen the wariness in her face, the determination in her eyes, the quiet strength she carried despite the tiredness weighing her down. And right now, I understood completely why she had been late. She had run for me, for my car, for a stranger. She helped me when she didn't have to. She stayed when she could have walked away. She sacrificed time she couldn't afford to lose. And now she was paying for it. "Emma," I said calmly but firmly, "this young woman helped me last night. My car broke down on a lonely road. She went miles to get someone's car battery so she could help jump mine. She walked alone in the dark and still showed up here this morning for work. And you're firing her over 27 minutes?" Emma blinked, stunned. She helped you?" I nodded. "Yes, I owe her more than just thanks." The room fell into another wave of silence. Maya kept her head down, wiping tears before they could fall. Emma seemed suddenly unsure of her own stance, but stubbornness, my daughter's most inherited trait, kept her shoulders stiff. "Dad, I didn't know," she said quietly. But still, she didn't tell us why she was late. She didn't give an explanation. Maya's voice cracked again. "I wasn't sure if anyone would believe me. I didn't want to say anything that sounded like an excuse." I looked at her gently. "Maya, did you run to help me last night?" She nodded, barely managing to keep her composure. "I tried to be fast, but my supervisor held me back. He asked a lot of questions. And by the time I finished helping you, it was already late. I had to walk home. Then I barely slept because I was scared I'd oversleep. And I did, by a little." Her voice was trembling so hard she had to stop and breathe. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I really need this job. I'm saving to go to school. I can't afford to be fired again." The words "again" hit me like a cold wave. Emma sighed and shook her head. "Dad, we hire struggling workers all the time, but we can't let emotional reasons dictate professionalism. My boss is strict, the company is strict, and I have to follow protocol." "Protocol," I said, almost tasting the bitterness under my tongue. "Do you really think protocol is more important than humanity?" She looked taken aback. That's not fair. No, Emma, I said, stepping closer. What's not fair is firing someone who risked her safety and time to help a stranger. She rubbed her forehead in frustration. You're making it sound like I enjoy firing people. I don't. But I can't make exceptions. It's my job. My promotion depends on it. Her voice cracked slightly when she said it, but she swallowed her emotion quickly. You care about that promotion? I asked quietly. Yes, she said immediately. I've worked for years to get here. I've sacrificed everything. Late nights, weekends, relationships, everything. And how much of yourself are you willing to lose? I asked her. How much kindness are you willing to erase for a title? She fell silent. I turned to Maya again. She was staring at the floor, defeated, as if she'd already accepted her fate long before I even spoke up. I couldn't stomach it. Emma, I said firmly, reinstate her. Emma looked shocked. Dad, I can't just... You can, I interrupted. You just don't want to. That's not true, she snapped. There are processes. Forget the processes, I said, my voice rising. Look at her, Emma. Maya lifted her head slightly, her eyes red and glossy. This is someone trying, someone working, someone who wants a future. And you're about to take that away over 27 minutes because you're afraid of looking too lenient? For the first time, Emma looked genuinely conflicted, her jaw unclenched, her arms loosened. She looked at Maya, really looked at her, not as an employee, not as a name on a schedule, but as a person. Is what my father said true? She asked Maya softly. Did you help him last night? Maya nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks now. Emma looked back at me. Why didn't you call me? I could have helped you. Because I'm the one who needed help last night. She was, I said. Then something unexpected happened. Maya covered her face and sobbed. Not loud wails, just soft, broken sobs that came from exhaustion too deep to hide. It tore through the room like a quiet storm, ripping through the pride and rules and protocols. Emma looked at her for a long second, then exhaled shakily. Okay, she whispered, you're not fired. Maya gasped, eyes widening. Really? Emma nodded slowly. Really. But you need to understand. No, I cut in sharply. No conditions. Let her breathe today. Emma pressed her lips together, then nodded again. Maya wiped her face, trembling. Thank you so much. She stepped back, but her knees seemed weak. I moved instinctively, guiding her to a chair. You didn't deserve to be punished for helping someone, I said gently. Emma walked around her desk and crouched slightly to meet Maya's eyes. I'm sorry, she said, the words stiff but real. I didn't know. I should have asked before deciding anything. Maya shook her head quickly. It's okay. You didn't have to listen to me. I know I'm not important. That sentence crashed into me like a stone. You are important, I said immediately. Never think otherwise. Emma looked at me as if seeing me differently for a moment, not as her father, but a man still capable of deep empathy. She stood and sighed. Take the morning off, Maya. I'll fix your attendance record. Dee, thank you, she whispered. She stood shakily, clutching her backpack. Before she walked out, she turned to me with watery eyes. Sir, I didn't know you were her father when I helped you. I swear that wasn't why I did it. I'm not trying to, use you. I smiled. I know. That's why it means so much. She nodded, her voice a thin whisper. I'll never forget this. Then she left the office, closing the door softly behind her. The room felt strangely quiet after she was gone. I turned slowly to Emma. She was staring at the floor, arms hanging loosely by her sides. Dad, she said quietly, am I really that cold? Yes, I said gently, but not because you want to be, because you're trying too hard to be what you think success looks like. She looked up at me, her eyes suddenly glossy, like she was a little girl again, seeking approval she never needed to earn. I thought being strict made me strong, she whispered. I thought compassion made me weak. No, I said, walking to her and placing my hand on her shoulder. Compassion makes you human, and people will follow a human leader far sooner than a heartless one. She let out a shaky breath. I didn't realize how much I'd lost. You haven't lost anything you can't get back, I said.
But you have to choose what kind of leader you want to be. She nodded. I'll do better, she whispered. I promise. I smiled. Good, because the world needs more Emmas with hearts, not just titles. For the first time in a long while, she hugged me, genuinely, without rushing, without worrying about her schedule. Just a daughter holding on to her father, as if grounding herself after drifting too far into a storm. But the story didn't end there, not even close. Because later that evening, when I was home thinking about everything that had happened, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Sir, this is Maya. Can I ask for your help? Something happened. And that message, that simple, trembling message, would lead to a truth I never expected. A truth that would shake everything even deeper than the moment I saw her being fired. But that belonged to the next chapter.
I stared at the message glowing on my screen long after it arrived, trying to interpret the panic behind those simple words. Sir, this is Maya. Can I ask for your help? Something happened. It had barely been 6 hours since I'd seen her trembling in Emma's office, and I hoped, desperately, that life had decided to give her a break. But life isn't known for its timing, and people like Maya, the world always seemed to test them twice as hard. I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. Hello, she whispered, her voice shaky, as if she were trying not to cry. Maya, are you okay? I asked, pulling on my jacket with one hand already. There was a soft, broken breath on the other end. No, I don't think so. My chest tightened. Where are you? Outside my building. I can't go in. Stay right there. I'm coming. I didn't even think. I grabbed my keys, left the house, and drove faster than I had any right to. The sky was already dimming into that bruised shade of evening, where street lamps flicker uncertainly and shadows stretch too long. When I reached her street, she was sitting on the steps of a run-down apartment building, her arms wrapped around herself, looking small, too small for someone who carried so much on her shoulders. She looked up when she saw me, her eyes red-rimmed, face pale from the cold. Maya, I said gently, getting out of the car, what happened? She tried to stand, but her knees wobbled. I helped her sit back down. My landlord, she began, swallowing hard. He changed the lock. What? I knelt beside her. Why? She shook her head helplessly. I was 1 day late on rent. Just 1 day. I told him I'd pay tonight after work. I even showed him the money I had saved. But he said, I don't know. He said he doesn't want unreliable tenants. Anger shot through me like a spark. He can't legally do that without notice. He did, she whispered. My things are still inside. And he won't talk to me. He just yelled from his window to get off the stairs. Her voice cracked at the memory. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. You should have called the police. She shook her head quickly. I'm not good with those things. I don't want trouble. I don't want to make things worse. I sat beside her, letting silence for a moment. Cars passed. A dog barked distantly. A cold wind rustled the dead leaves along the curb. Do you have anywhere else to go? I asked quietly. She shook her head again, this time more defeated. I don't have family. My mom passed away 4 years ago. Dad left when I was 12. I've been on my own since. She swallowed hard. I just wanted to get through this month. I just wanted to keep my jobs. I thought I was doing okay. The sadness in her voice was too heavy for someone her age, too familiar. I had seen that same weight in many young people who grew up faster than they should have. We'll figure this out, I said gently. You're not alone now. She looked at me with wide, uncertain eyes. Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me. I met her gaze steadily. Sometimes the universe puts people in our path for a reason. Last night, you helped me when you didn't have to. Today, it's my turn. Something in her expression trembled. Acceptance, maybe, or disbelief mixed with fragile hope. Come on, I said, standing. You'll stay at my place tonight. Her eyes widened. I can't do that. That's too much. It's not, I said firmly, and you don't have any other safe option right now. I don't want to be a burden. You're not, I assured her. If anything, you're a blessing. The words brought tears to her eyes. She covered her mouth, overwhelmed.
Minutes later, she was sitting in my car, hands folded tightly in her lap, staring quietly out the window. She kept apologizing, saying she didn't want to intrude, didn't want to be trouble, didn't want to be one more responsibility. I told her gently, "Kindness isn't a responsibility, Maya. It's a choice, and I choose to help you." When we reached my house, she hesitated at the door, like she wasn't sure she deserved warmth. I showed her where the guest room was, told her she could shower, rest, breathe. She stood in the hallway, small and unsure. "Sir, thank you," she whispered. "Not just for this, for earlier too, for standing up for me." "You're welcome," I said, "and please, call me Daniel." She smiled faintly for the first time that night. As she settled into the guest room, Emma called. I walked to the living room and answered. "Dad, you left so fast earlier. Everything okay?" "Not exactly," I said. "What happened?" I explained everything, her landlord, the lock, her fear, her homelessness. There was a long pause. Then Emma murmured softly, "God, I didn't know she was going through all that." "No one knows what someone is carrying until it spills," I said gently. "That's why kindness matters." Emma sighed. "Dad, I've been thinking since this morning. I really have. And you were right. I've been cold. Too cold." "You're learning. That's what matters." Another pause. Then Emma said something that surprised me. "Can I come over?" It was rare. She was always busy, always running, always scheduling. But there was something soft, almost vulnerable in her tone. "Of course," I said. About 20 minutes later, she arrived. Her heels clicked softly across the floor as she entered, her confidence toned down, her posture more thoughtful than rigid. Maya peeked out of the hallway, startled. "Miss Emma?" Emma held up a hand gently. "Please, just call me Emma." Maya nodded awkwardly and stepped into the living room. She looked so fragile standing there, hair damp from her shower, her backpack still clutched in her hands like a shield. Emma took a slow breath. "Maya, I owe you another apology." "You already apologized," Maya whispered. "No," Emma said softly. "Earlier, I apologized as your boss. Now, I want to apologize as a person." Maya looked at me, unsure. I nodded encouragingly. Emma continued, voice trembling. "I judged you without knowing your struggle. I should have asked. I should have understood. You've been carrying so much alone." She paused, then added quietly, "And I'm sorry you felt like you had no one to turn to." Maya's eyes glossed over. Emma stepped closer. "You're staying here tonight, right?" Maya nodded hesitantly. "Good," Emma said, "because tomorrow I want to talk about something. Not work-related. Something better." Maya blinked. "Better?" Emma smiled softly, gently, genuinely. "I want to help you. Really help you." Maya covered her mouth again, trying not to cry. I stepped back and let them talk quietly for a bit. I listened from the kitchen, hearing pieces of Maya's laughter, small, cautious, but real. Emma was telling her about her own mistakes, how success had twisted her, how she wanted to change. There was something healing about seeing them together. Two women who had collided by accident, but were now slowly becoming part of each other's lives. Later that night, after Maya had gone to sleep, Emma and I sat at the dining table with mugs of warm tea. "You know," she said softly, "she reminds me of myself years ago." "Ah," I teased lightly, "back when you still had emotions." She rolled her eyes but smiled. "Very funny." "You care about her," I said. Emma nodded. "Yeah, I really do. It scares me a little, actually. I didn't think I could still feel empathy like that." "You were never without empathy," I said. "You just buried it under expectations." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Dad, I think I want to do something more for her." I raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Like offering her a stable position, training, maybe even helping her enroll in classes. She said she wants to study social work." Emma's voice softened. "I can help her do that. I want to." I stared at her, pride swelling in my chest. "That's beautiful, Emma." "She deserves a chance," she said quietly. "Everyone does." The next morning was the beginning of something new. Maya woke up early, surprised to find a warm breakfast waiting for her. Emma sat with her, explaining options the company could offer: flexible shifts, training programs, even sponsorship for her education. Maya cried again, not out of fear this time, but out of the overwhelming shock that someone was willing to invest in her future. "You're not alone now," Emma told her. "We've got you." I watched them from the doorway, my heart full. Seeing my daughter choose compassion, seeing Maya finally breathe without fear, seeing the beginning of a bond formed from pain, luck, and kindness, it felt like the universe stitching together something broken. Over the next weeks, Maya settled into a better rhythm. Emma supported her tirelessly. They developed a bond, almost like sisters, separated by circumstance and reunited by fate. Maya began classes, part-time at first. Emma helped her with paperwork, schedules, everything. One evening, months later, Maya knocked on my door with the biggest smile I had ever seen on her face. "I passed my first semester," she cried. I pulled her into a hug. "I knew you would." And then Emma joined in, her eyes shining with pride. That night, as we shared dinner, Maya placed her hand on mine and said softly, "Sir, Daniel, you saved my life. Not just with a place to stay, but you believed in me when no one else did. You saved mine first." She smiled tearfully. "And your daughter saved my future." We sat there, three people who were strangers only months ago, now connected by a story that began on a lonely road. A story about timing, kindness, and second chances. Sometimes the smallest gesture from a stranger becomes the moment everything changes. Sometimes helping one person heals two others in the process. And sometimes a stranger isn't a stranger at all. They might just be the missing piece you didn't know your family needed.